I wanted to tell you more about how chromatography is actually a very powerful tool that can be used in several areas of research. So from food science to petroleum to pharmaceutical research, it is being used. It's quite simple, as you've seen, that you can play around with it using just water and paper, but uh, using that very simple principle, scientists have developed it into powerful machines that have further incorporated different properties, and they use these machines to identify, separate, and identify several compounds in complex mixtures. So it looks complicated, but behind that, it's actually the same thing that you seen or you would have seen if you were able to perform this experiment. So instead of using paper chromatography, instead of using paper and a solvent like this, one way that chemists perform chromatography is using a column. And instead of paper, we use silica. So we put the silica in this column, and then we put the mixture on top and put the solvent on top of that. And then let the solvent travel downwards. And depending on the polarity of the compound, so the same principle, right? Depending on the polarity, it can travel further down or it can just stay out up here. But we were able to separate the compounds. And then these compounds come out this end, and we can collect that and run it through another machine to analyze it further. So using that same principle, this column, scientists further developed this column into this tiny little thing that can fit into this big machine. I think it's over here, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a bit more complicated now. So instead of just one solvent, we can use a mixture of several solvents. So it goes through the machine, and then it goes to, you can inject whatever you're analyzing in there. It could be a mixture, it could be medicine, and then you want to analyze the specific drug. And usually this is also hooked up to another machine which automatically identifies the compound. Okay. So right now, with the coronavirus, we're on a race to try to find a vaccine for it. So that's one thing that researchers are doing right now. And so I just found this online. One way that chromatography is helping with that is to purify the spike antibody. So this is from a website that actually sells. And so on the front page, you can see that they have COVID-19 products. So they sell products, biomolecules, to researchers who can use them to in their research to develop the vaccine. This is the page that I showed in the slides. And you can see here that it's an antibody from rabbits. And chromatography was used after they obtained the antibodies from the rabbits, from the cells. They used chromatography to purify it into the pure antibody that can be used for the research. Okay. So this spike antibody, that's an antibody that it's a biomolecule that binds to the spike protein. The coronavirus is the structure. Its surface is filled with these structures that are called the spike protein. And the spike protein is actually the one that binds to human cells. So if you are interested in that, and if you have a lot of time on your hands, there's actually a game that you can play. It's called Fold It. And what's interesting is the creators of this game, they created a puzzle that users can try to solve. And the goal of the game, the goal of that puzzle is for players to try and design an antiviral protein that could bind to the COVID virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So they describe it here on their page that the spike protein is the one that binds to the human receptor. And so you have to design a protein that can fit really well with the spike protein. So the winning designs could be used by researchers to design, to help them towards creating the vaccine that can disrupt the virus or prevent the virus from binding to the human receptor. So if you want to play that, you can play it you can download the game on fold.it/portal. And it's quite a simple game, really. So I've downloaded it here. They present it for anyone so that anyone can play it. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to understand what these are scientifically. All you have to do is just follow the rules of the game. And they'll tell you, like, for example, you don't want these things happening, you don't want it to clash, so you can just move that out and the clash will be cleared. So it's really quite interesting approach to science, because they're getting the help of people, right? And they're acknowledging that even ordinary or non-scientists can contribute to science in this way and through gaming pa, diba? It's also what they used. The manufacturers of Foldit, they were able to use this same technique of creating a game to discover or to design the therapy for HIV/AIDS back in 2011. So they presented a puzzle in the same way, and the winning design was able to help the scientists figure out how to make the protein that is now being used for people infected with the HIV. Okay, so right now the puzzle is actually closed, but maybe they'll release another puzzle soon. And in the meantime, you can download the game first and get the hang of it. Okay.